Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about the string interpolation, or people sometimes call it as string or template literals. This is one of the core concept of any programming or all programming language, whether you are developing a web application or any mobile application or a desktop application or whatever the programming language you are using. Um, the template literal or string interpolation is a core concept. So I guarantee you that this is something every programmer must know about it. So throughout the video, I'm going to show you some code examples of some of the string literals you will be using. Primarily, I'll be using mustache.js, what you see in my screen. The reason I'm going to show you the mustache today is that if you learn mustache template literal, it supports many programming language today. Especially in my case, I manage different product teams and the developer with a different programming language and different frameworks. Teaching them to learn the mustache, it's just like 1 or 2 days of training, and they can just be very handy and they can quickly learn and do it. Even they are switching from one program to another program, it's not really big effort for them to learn the respective programming language, string interpolation, because the core is remain the mustache. Because just one, uh, I mean, the format of mustache supports into many languages you see, like Ruby, JavaScript, Python, Java, Go, Scala, Rust, SQL dot, um, maybe your React JS, C, C++. So every programming language, of course, Swift for Android, I mean iOS mobile developer. So every programming language, this particular library can be used with the same syntax. Okay, so if you are very new to this term, maybe you are a fresh developer, a new developer. Just to give some examples, so they given some demo here. So let's assume this is one of the, I mean, I'm just trying to make it much simpler for anyone to quickly and easily understood. So, all right. So assume this is one of the string which I wanted to render in my program. I wanted to display in my program. Or you all know that the mail merge concept. I think everyone would have started in you when you learn this program, right? So whenever you send a mass email, let's say after hi, this I mean the salutation of hello, then the name will appear, and some dynamic values will be embedded in the code, right? So when the email sends to thousands of people after the hi salutation, the name will automatically appear. So that's called a string templates or a string interpolation. Okay. So assume this is one of the HTML code. I mean, in order to make sure, please don't assume that the string literal is only for HTML. No, you can apply the string literals in many cases. Could be sending email, displaying the content, displaying the UI, or all the concept you can use this string interpolation. So here what you see is simply a string, right? Here there are some text is in the flower braces. Okay, it just starts with the double flower braces and it ends with the closing flower braces. And similarly, it has some additional syntax. So I'll quickly explain this. Okay, so this is my string and this is my JSON data. So assume in my programming, I'll execute this code and I'll show you. So in my programming, this is a data in the form of maybe your whatever the data object. I mean, if you are using Python, Ruby, you term whatever the name you use in your program. So this is, in other word, extended variable, and this is a string. Okay. When I go and compile this with the mustache string interpolation engine, this is the output I get. Okay, you see, so here this particular header, when I compile, the whatever the header value like a color will automatically be placed here. Okay, so you see the color is appearing here. So they're applying the rule of loop. So whenever you see this hash with the variable, then it will look for the same item. Okay, here there is items and items because you set the hash, which means it is an array. Okay, so it will repeat, right? The list will repeat equivalent to the number of rows you see here. So there are 3 rows in it. So that this text will automatically appear. Instead of this URL, this particular URL will appear. So instead of name, this particular name will appear. So that's what it renders here. Okay. So the empty, it's a boolean. It is called false. So it just checks again. One of the simplest thing is that whether it is an array or a boolean, you can use the same hashtag. Okay. Um, so because this is a false, this will not come into the output. In other case, if I change this to true, when I compile, this line will appear because check that entry is a true, which means when it compile, if this is a true, then it will render this particular text. So in other case, let's say here, I'm going to use, assume here, I'm going to use bold. Okay, you know, you can apply this, um, or I'll go with the EM. All right. So I'm sure you all know that the EM you can apply here itself, correct? Here you can put a EM. Assume that is part of your, some cases you may render, your database may have a column, something like an email template or something. So that will have a pure HTML code inside, okay? When you compile, so you see in your data, there are some codes. When you compile, so the output will escape those um, the HTML syntaxes here, right? The less than is actually changed to LT. In that case, of course, you have an option to change this to um, triple flower brace, and it will render the tag as is. So, which means your string template will have certain tags, whereas your variable may have certain tags that will end up. So, if you are a very young programmer, you may wonder, why should I have this template? Why should I have this separate variable? Why can't I have this in my program directly? Of course, it's true, but assume you have a page. In the page, you wanted to show the data from the database, which means the database has a dynamic value. Assume this is a one of the person profile, assume like a Facebook, right? So every Facebook profile is different, which is coming from the database, something like that. The database comes, the database brings the values, and the template literals will have all the cosmetic or tagging. So it will compile them and it will produce a result like that, and it may display in the page whatever the way the particular markup language has been designed. Okay, so the mustache is really logic less um, template interpolation. I mean the string interpolation. So why do I call this as logicless? So which means here you see it doesn't involve any logic, right? So here I have header. It simply take this values from this header tag and put it here. This is the loop, and this just take the number of items from the loop and it renders something like this, right? So this is what we call it as a logic, which means you cannot apply any logic. For example, uh, to give a some case, say assume here there is something like a name. Okay, here there is a name, or like age. Okay, so the age is someone's age is, let's say, 25. um, um, or I'll give another example. Okay, let's say okay, and the gender is, assume it's a female. Okay, so assume you have age and gender, which you can, let's say, you can add here like age, and you can add a gender. So here the triple flower braces is not required, right? Because it's a plain text. It doesn't matter. Having that, it's not going to cause any problem. That's still okay. Okay, you see the values are rendering. Assume your programming requires, okay, someone says to include here something like Mr. or Miss in case the age is, in case the gender is female, you wanted to automatically render Miss. Okay, in case the gender is male, you wanted to render Mr. Okay, so which means you wanted to bring conditionally some output. That things is not possible with mustache, because that's what we call it as a logicless. So I have been using this mustache into various my products at least last 12 years. This mustache, I mean, just like this three controls like loop and just rendering the values or a boolean, this is more than enough into your most of the programming. So I'll go and use this into different programming language with a few lines so that the different language the programmer can understand quickly. So I guarantee you that learning this mustache will really helpful in many cases. It's very simple and super fast. However, I'll also show you the equivalent framework, I mean the equivalent library, which is called Thymeleaf. Okay, so this Thymeleaf is available only for a Java developer. So like compare Mustache, Mustache is available for many languages today, whereas I will be using the Thymeleaf. Okay, I show Thymeleaf. Okay, Thymeleaf is one of the biggest template engine, okay, or a template literal, but it is available only in the Java, like a Java web developer or a Java core Java developer can use Thymeleaf. So one of the difference between the Thymeleaf and the Mustache is Thymeleaf is a logical template, which means assume I told you an example, right? You wanted to render, I mean, you wanted to add, let's say, Mr. or Miss here in the output. In case if assume that the gender is a female, I wanted to render Miss. If the the gender is male, I want to render Mr. This kind of thing is not possible. Okay, I mean, of course your database might have salutation, something like that, like this, right? Salutation as miss or something like that, that you can directly render here. Let's say I wanted to render something like that. This is the, again I say, logicless, which means it simply represent, I mean, it shows your data here, my data as miss, which I'm going to render, it shows miss. Okay, there is a no logic here. However, in the Thymeleaf kind of application, the Thymeleaf is really logic involved, where you can write a template, like in this template itself, if the value of the gender is male, then represent as Mr. Even the Mr. is not part of your data. Okay, so that's the benefit of Thymeleaf. Um, you may wonder why I needed this Thymeleaf, because let's use one of the example maybe that could uh, be useful. Okay. Um, okay. So I use Thymeleaf in one of the e-commerce site which I manage. It's a very big e-commerce site where my backend is built with Spring Boot. Okay, it is like it is managing the business logic and everything. Okay, it's like, let's say, Java backend. Okay, um, and so I used, I mean, yearly. in the past I use regular mustache engine in the Java. Okay, the regular mustache engine. So when it comes to deployment, this is a B2B e-commerce site. Okay, which means the single e-commerce application we are selling to a different e-commerce stores or e-commerce, the business people, business companies. They take this e-commerce and they deploy and show as a store one or store two. I mean, whatever the uh, business they use, run. Okay, store one and let's say store n. All right. So we have a lot of configuration option like you all know that WordPress, right? There is a different configuration of changing the UI button look and feel, and every experience you can configure in this Java application itself. That's the way we did it. It's working fine. But right now we are going and deploying this for so many business, I mean entities, many companies we are deploying. As we go, there are some companies wanted certain UI element. I mean in the website or the page element, they needed some special condition, which means you all know that I can go and apply that condition in the backend, but the problem with the like a mustache kind of template, it doesn't have any logic, right? So I can apply in the Java, even the one particular logic is, or I mean, I'm talking about a logic only in the sense the view aspect. I'm not talking about a core change. If you apply any core change or like a cart experience or a fulfillment or a delivery experience or a notification, we still apply all those logic in the code itself. But when it comes to UI, one customer has certain condition which I can go and apply in the backend. But when we do that, it really applies to all customer, even when they don't want, or such a logic is not at all necessary for the another publisher or another um, e-commerce owner, I mean e-commerce business. Okay, so that's the reason we changed from the mustache to Thymeleaf. Okay, because Thymeleaf is a logic inbuilt engine. So this every store we have a view template. Okay, that's a string literal, right? So every store has its own string literals or template literals built with the mustache. Now we change this to Thymeleaf, which means any store which requires some level of um, condition in the UI, like the Mr. Mrs. I showed you, those changes we can apply directly in the customer level, I mean the company level UI templates, so that it will taken care. So we no need to really go and touch the backend because it's not really necessary for all the customers. I mean all the e-commerce sites. So that's the reason Mustache really helped us to build a high level logics into the template level rather going and changing into the backend. So now I'll get into the code part. I think this is one of the basic example, right? I'll show you the code part. I'll use Visual Code Studio and I'll be showing the quick examples. Okay, let's start with HTML test.html. I'm going to show the simple HTML. You all know that HTML people will use the CDN in order to load the content, right? So to save the time, I will use something very quick examples. All right. You have a JavaScript. Okay. Let's go to the JavaScript and copy one of the template here. So we can move on very quickly. Okay, so I copy this. I mean, let it be your whatever the application or HTML template you have. So you see, right? So in the script tag, someone has written the mustache template. It could be anything. Okay, here it is a simply one variable. It could be as many as variable, like whatever I showed you right here. So if you really need the same example, we can even take the same example in order to render. All right. So can we take this string template from here and put it in the, see, please make sure if you use this in your template, you may find some error. Okay, um, I mean, the only difference between the regular script tag and this tag is that this is type of X template mustache. I mean, in your most of the case, you will see that text slash JavaScript, right? When you write HTML for any JavaScript, but this is a plain HTML. So likewise, you can have a lot of templates. You can bring through Ajax or any network call. You can bring from a database. Okay, so I added this and so we need to load the mustache from the CDN, right? So CDN mustache. Okay, just hit it. You will get the CDN library. Go ahead and copy or whatever the example that they mentioned here. That's more than enough. But I just wanted to show you. You wanted to take the latest one. You can go and copy the script tag and come here and paste here. Okay, so render that's a separate JavaScript. I'll try to write it here itself. Okay, script. Sorry for this auto suggestion. Okay, type text slash JavaScript. Okay, so whatever they mentioned in the render tag, this is what they mentioned. Okay, so I'll paste it. Oh, they mentioned the function. All right. So what they do um, on the body onload, when the body of the page onload, it calls the render hello. Then it go and take the content from the template ID. Okay, here there is a template. This is a template of ID by element. They are getting the value and they are rendering this mustache object is available from this mustache library. Okay, they simply render this particular string template with this value. All right. So in our case, I mean, I just wanted to show you little extra um, extended variable I've got. So you can put it here or you can have it in a separate variable, something like, const data. So I paste it here. Assume this is my data and you can copy this and you can pass this as a value to the mustache. Okay, so mustache really takes two parameter. One is a template, that's a template string here, and another one is a data. When it compiles, then it will get the output something like this. I mean, here we saw some sample, right? So likewise it will render. So now you will get the rendered value which we are going to pasting inside of the target element. So where is the target element? So they might be, so here, okay, this target element, they will replace the content inside of this element. So this is a very simple example. So let me open in the browser and see this. I mean, you can use your web application or whatever. So you see, right? So here you see the string template, and the string template now compiled into, right? The salutation comes as a miss, colors, the header, right? So the header comes from the this particular element, and you see all the values like a list. um, so here you have a data. This is your template. Now change it into uh, this thing. Okay, so this is a very simple example in the HTML. So I will be using the similar one with maybe Python. Okay, so go ahead and I'll create a Python. Let's say Python underscore test.py. Okay, Python, they have a py mustache. Okay, so I mean, every library will have a little different name. Okay, so here you go, and you might have um, so there are different engine, but the one I usually use is I go to the py site. Okay, PyStash. This is like equivalent to the mustache. So every application has its own name. Okay, pip. So yeah, so I use this. Yeah, this one. Okay, so I'm going to install this one with so I just make sure pip install pystash and import pystash, right? Um, can use I'm not going to use the full Python class. Okay, let's assume data equal to so the JavaScript and Python will have a mostly similar when it comes to JSON, right? So that's the benefit of this one. Okay, let's say do true. So sorry about that. This is little change. Okay, I mean if you don't try to copy from the JavaScript, I mean all the time it may not possible, but this is on a JSON from a JavaScript and it directly fit into Python. That's really cool. Okay, and we have a string template, right? So template, whatever the value you have. Okay, copy the same example, so it might be much easier. I'm not sure you know whether you can keep the multi-line variable into like this. Okay, so we done it, we paste it, and I'm going to render this value with the pystash. So now let's say output equal to pystash render. Here we call the template, and here we call the data. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's showing error. Template is not defined. Not really. Okay, I think I mix up. In Java, I do this, but in Python, this is I would call it as a comment. Okay, so this is definitely wrong. Um, so this will not execute. So we need to find a Python multi-line text. Um, yeah, this is the right one. Okay, I think we did it right. Even in Java, use a similar condition. Okay, so I'll forget this one. I'm not sure why it is showing error. Let's go and compile. Okay, so let's do clear python test.python. Okay, here it shows, yeah, exactly. It's an error, but here they say, can you try single line? Why this is not error in this case, but only in our case? If I use a, will it be a problem? No. But why the problem only with the template? Template is not defined. Okay, now, yeah, this looks okay. Then copy this one. I'm not sure. Maybe the editor problem or whatever. I copy paste here and maybe remove this one. I mean, most of your use case, you may not be copying, pasting the template here. Like you will be bring this value from a database. You will be bringing this from your database. But I'm just showing the simple example. Okay, now let's go and render this. Okay, Python test Python underscore sorry, cd string interpolation is my folder. Python Python test. Okay, we did not print this output, right? Print output. You see the output of this variable is rendering the output with a compiled value, right? You see, so this particular template is interpolated with this data. So now Mustache is really doing the amazing work. So um, you can use, like, if you are sending a mass email from your Python program, so maybe this template will come from the database, like from the email templates. This will come from the user data or whatever the notification related data that will compile by loop based on the number of size of the data, and it can send the email. So likewise you can use, but if you are using a Django or a Flask kind of Python web framework, It has inbuilt its own template engine. That is more than enough. But if you like to use this mustache, you can go ahead and configure. Okay. So now can we go ahead and try this with right? I mean, those are all the other examples you can definitely try. I really wish to show this in the I mean the React and the Perl and Rust, Ruby, and all. So Ruby is also, I have a quick example to show, but really the concept is remain same in every program. Okay, you have a template, you render, and it will give the output. Okay, so now I'll go and show how to use this mustache in a framework like a Spring Boot. So I hope all Java developer knows about the Spring Boot because it's a bigger framework today and it does a lot on the bigger ecosystem. It's a banking software or any high level um, um, commercial application. Spring Boot does. So I'll show you both the mustache and the Thymeleaf with a little example of how to use in the Spring Boot. Okay, so before going and creating, and you all know that how to create the Spring Boot template, right? I mean the basic example application. Go to the Spring Start Spring IO and keep everything same, but I use Maven and Java. If you are very new to Java and you wanted to learn Spring Boot, I mean, if you are a Java developer, and please learn Spring Boot because I guarantee if you write any servlet-based application, uh, Spring will take 1,000 times faster and highly secured, massively scalable application you can develop with this Spring Boot. I'm guarantee with that. So I'm just going and creating the basic um, Spring Boot application. Okay. So here I would say that I'll be using it's a web application. Let's go ahead and use web. Um, so I'll add a mustache for now, but I mean I'll try to show you how differently you can use. Okay, for now just do generate. When you click generate, it will it will download the entire folder. Just go ahead and paste that into your whatever the folder you maintain. So here I'm going to download. So once I download, I'm going to unzip this and maybe go to this command prompt. I have a demo. The I mean as I told you, if you are new to Spring Boot, please go and watch another 1 hour video of how to create a Spring Boot controller, domain object, database connection, and everything. There is a separate video I posted on my channel, and I mean you have many videos about the Spring Boot. You can watch them. So here, go to the demo. Sorry. Oh, I placed in a separate folder. All right, cd demo. Um, so what we can do here is at first time, let's say mvn. It's a Maven command. I mean, if you don't have Java or a Maven installed in your computer, please do install. I assume that you know Java and you have some Maven build process already. If you don't know, please go and watch other video. But here I'm going a little fast. Mvn clean compile. So when you do that, it will go and bring the necessary package. You see here there is a some folder structure, right? So only one file or something like that. So when I do a clean compile, this is Maven dependency. So what it does is, every program has a lots of dependency. Spring Boot use Maven repository. Okay, so it going and bringing the necessary repository from this library. So Maven has 33.8 million libraries. So it just go and pull the necessary. Okay. So in order to do this, I'll take my command prompt, rather Visual Code Studio, in order to run this. Okay, so cd, okay, I'm in the folder. um, let's go ahead and run this mbn. Okay, SpringBoot run. So this is the command I am going to execute in order to um, you know compile and execute the Spring Boot application. So this is basically a web application. I'm just running this and let's see what's going to happen. So I'll open the main code. This is the one. Okay, now the application is running, might be running in some port. Okay, just code and local host and 8080. So now the web application is running. Don't worry about the CRR. Okay, you can go and create a controller, right? What we can do here. So I'm going to create one controller. Let's say home controller. That's where I'm going to show you this thing. Um, demo.controller. So I create a package. I'm going to, why this is showing error. I wanted to move this to controller. So here it will create a subfolder called the controller and the home controller is here. Okay, so this is like a controller. So controller, when you type, just make sure you install the necessary annotation. So and now I will be going and adding the simple roots on top of it. Let's say a request mapping. I'll put it something like this, home. Okay, and let's write one particular you know uh, MVC concept. I mean, here the concept is about a template engine. Okay, so let's go ahead and type get mapping value. I'm going to say mustache. Sorry, I'm going to type like hello. Okay, it's going to be a very simple one, and then I'll introduce the mustache. Okay, model and view hello model. So if you get example, import it. If a model is error, import it, and if a model is error, then to import. Just make sure you import the right one, otherwise you will be getting into trouble. Definitely the UI is, yeah, this is the one. So why this is throwing error? Because we need to return something. All right. So what do we do? Um, okay, model. I mean, let's first print something. Okay, um, request body. Right now let's not be model. I mean, I'll make a one simple example of output, then we'll get into that. It's not request body, it must be response body. Why this is an error? Okay, let's leave this. Okay, return hi. I'm just outputting some simple text. Can we go and okay, this is the issue. We need to stop and restart. um, let's compile this and we'll get the output. Okay, now go ahead and type. So it is like a home hello, right? Because we type, what is the controller we typed here? It's a home and a hello, right? um, maybe we would have typed something like this. Okay, so the Spring Boot, you need to stop and start all the times. That would be sometime not like unpleasant. Okay, if you need to know all about this controller roots and all, please watch another video. So in order to auto compile, I'm going to add one of the Maven repository, so I need not to stop and start every change. Okay, Spring will automatically take care of auto recompiling. So let's go ahead and use this Maven library and Spring Boot Dev Tools, and do copy this one and go to your POM. POM will be in your folder. Okay, here there is a file called POM, and under POM, somewhere under the dependencies, just paste this the code. Okay, the dependency code. It's called dev tools. Okay, so the dev tools will automatically take care. Here I'm every change I have to stop here and restart here, right? So the dev tool package will detect the code changes. When I type, it will automatically recompile. Okay, because I just pasted once, it's better I can go and run once, and then any further change it should take care of. So in this case, I'm really outputting a string, not a template anything. There is no template literal here. Let's use response body. Okay, now we're done. Let's go ahead and compile. It's a home, right? Here it's a home under hello. Let's take this. Okay, you see high, right? So you hit the code and you get the high result. Now I'm going to write a let's say one controller. I would say that uh, model view, or another way MVC. Okay, um, because the function name should be unique, right? I'm typing some function name. This is not a really model. Here I'm only responding a string, so I use a responsive body. If I really remove this, you will get into the error because it will go and look for a template like hi. Okay, I'm showing MVC. So here I'm saying that MVC.html. Okay, so when I say MVC.html, I think HTML is not necessary. MVC, see, these names need not be the same. Okay, I would say that MVC template or something, so it will be easy for it. Okay, I create one template. Let's go here. There is a template folder. Here you create a folder file called MVC template.html, and just go ahead and bootstrap. I am just going to use the bootstrap template. You all, I think, are familiar. If you are a web developer, you might be familiar with bootstrap. I'm just going and ah, come on, come on, let's go quick. Yeah, all right. I use I think this one is simple. Okay, I just copy pasted. Um, hello world. Okay, hi. Assume I wanted to print a name here. Okay, like whatever the example, the mustache example we discussed. So I made it here, and so now what it does is when you call the MVC, it will go and take the MVC template which is here. So in this folder, like a resource under the templates folder, it will open this, it will take this HTML and it will serve here. Okay, so can you just go and type MVC? Okay, it shows an error. I doubt whether it auto compile. I am sure it auto compile because it's a. I mean, I don't want to take a risk. I'll do once recompile and see whether it is working. I mean, it should really take this particular template and it should render the output. But you may wonder, what about this name? Yes, I'll show you that quickly. So let's see, it's compiled now and go ahead and show. Okay, what is the issue? Um, so better we can go ahead and implement the string template. Okay. In order to do that, let's go and I'll use some configuration. Go and open your home file. So here, go ahead and Maven repository. I mean, here when you download the initial Spring Boot itself, you wanted to add the particular mustache. You can definitely add something like this. But because I did not add, I wanted to show you both mustache and Thymeleaf. I wanted to add it separately. I mean, if you are having existing applications, this is the way you can add. Okay, mustache Spring Boot. So do search and you will get something like so the Spring Boot starter mustache. So this is the one you might be using. Just go ahead and take the latest version of dependency declaration and paste here. And I do little indent. That's not necessary, but it's a good thing. Okay, save it. As you save, it will go and install the necessary thing. You see that it is automatically compiling. Okay, so now let's go ahead and type, and the basic the case where you need to type not a string. I think that was an issue. Okay, so here let's say model and view, sorry, and view. Here you need to type model, let's say model. So because in this template we use a name, right? So you might be having some kind of hash map. I would say, yeah, we can call hash map. That's the easiest way you can carry any extended values, right? Let's import the hash map. Okay, semicolon. I'll minimize this so that you can see the code. Data dot dot put. I mean, you know that you can bring the database here, you can bring the values from a database, you can bring the template from the database. All those things are possible. So I'm here trying to focus only um, the interpolation or template rentals. Okay, name is let's say current, let's say gen, gender, let's say male, let's say male. Okay, that's fine, right? You wanted to really put some I would say the list. Definitely you can, but again let's focus on this thing. Okay, so we need to put a model dot add attribute. I would say data. It can be in any name, but I wanted to make it very simple so that so I'm passing to the model viewer the variable called the data. In that the data is carrying this particular values. Okay, so here now it is not really a plain string, it's now new model and view. Okay, so now we did it. Let's see, it is automatically compiling. Yes, it does. And now let's go and type this. I'm getting error, right? So why home MVC? Is it path right? Home and MVC. Yeah, it's right. And under home we have a mustache, and it is in the templates folder, MVC template. It is MVC template. All looks fine. Just go ahead and refresh. And you need to add maybe one more declaration and go and open the application dot property. Here we need to declare like a spring dot mustache mustache dot suffix equal to dot html. So the mustache should know that we have a mustache template like MVC template. We are all having the HTML syntax, HTML based files. Some you may use a markdown or whatever the syntax you're using. You can have the extension. So here we are declaring this as a extension I'm using, and I'm calling the same name. Okay, let's see it is auto compiling. Um, VN, okay, we got an error. Now I think it is taking the template and it is asking that the name is error because you have to go and see where is we have a data as a extended like a JSON where we have a name and gender. We passing the data as a variable to the view template, right? Then we need to take the value something like data dot name, okay, and let's say data dot gender. All right, just save it. Okay, this data is a JSON variable. In that there are values like a name and gender. So I mean, if you know JSON, you can understand this very well. You see now these variables are rendering here in the Bootstrap template. Okay, so you see this is very simple, right? So there is no logic. As I told you, there is no logic. Again, you wanted to go and type, let's say, description. Um, so I would say you can type whatever. So I'm adding developer product manager. Um, okay, whatever. Okay, so you added a description here. Now assume that I wanted to render this description here. Yeah. So what happened if you go and refresh? The particular tag will come here, right? Because I told you earlier in this video, if you are adding any HTML, make sure you use a triple brace. Um, just go and render this. You see, this is gone. However, if you look at a view source, there will be a double para tag, right? So in this case, because the HTML, the data itself, there is a tag, you can remove here. It need not to be always inside of the tag. Still, this is okay. You can refresh, this para tag is gone. Okay. So you can apply a loop and everything. So assume, as I told you, right? If my gender is male, I wanted to show Mr. as a salutation. Okay, this is not possible in the mustache. I mean, as long as your data itself has, let's say, salutation. Sorry about that. Okay, like this, which you can go ahead and add into a template. Um, it will definitely it will render. Okay, you go and render. Okay, something wrong with the. Okay, all right, data. Right? So it renders with the Mr. Right? However, as I told you, when I run a big e-commerce site, the single application for multiple stores, there are a lot of things they need a UI level customization. The UI level they need this and that. This template will vary store to store. I designed a system where the core engine will be one repository, the template will be customer specific repository. In my deployment script, it will take the core and it will take the respective templates of the particular e-commerce site, and it will compile and it will deploy into the deployment aspect. So from this UI part, my UI engineers can do whatever the customization they want for the particular store specific requirements. Okay, so now as I told you, this is a very simple example. Now I cannot apply any logic. The stash really does a lot in a very simple manner, but you cannot apply any logic. So now let's go and change this mustache and bring the Thymeleaf. Okay, so go to the Maven repository, type something, search something like Thymeleaf. Okay, you have Thymeleaf. Here the Thymeleaf bootstrap, the starter something. Go and copy the latest one here, and instead of the mustache, I'm pasting the Thymeleaf now. I save it, I compile it. So I need not to change any of that, largely same, but of course the syntax will vary. These things I need not to change because it will automatically take. That's what the benefit of Spring Boot. When I change the Thymeleaf, but I need to change the template something like this. Let me show you that. Okay, so it is a div or para. Okay, I need to add, let's say, I mean, this was the mustache I told you, right? It's very simple. It just simply apply this, right? So instead, for the time leaf, I need to add something like this. Okay, I have to add th u text. U text in the sense you can simply put a text which is equivalent to this. When I put a u text, it will do the escape characters. Okay, so what I do here, data dot description. Okay, so here in order to render the agenda, th text, I need to use, sorry, it should be single brace. Okay, I'm just changing the time leaf. So here it is a two different, I mean within one template, I mean one line, I'm using a two tags, right? But I cannot go and put it here because either one will appear. So for that I'm using the span th text. I'll apply the logic little later, but right now I'm showing the equivalent mustache equivalent time leaf. Okay, um, let this put this because it's a span. I'll put a self close. I'll use the same one, but okay, you can use either self close or separate close. Both are fine. Okay, so now we did it, right? Let's save. I haven't applied any logic now. It's again simply rendering the values. So the template part is now ready, and we need to configure, one more line item in terms of Spring Boot to understand that Thymeleaf is the template later. All right. So just go ahead and create a configuration file. Let's say not in the template. Sorry, go to the main folder, create a, let's say, webconfig.java. So we are creating a configuration. All right. Um, okay, this is, I mean, Spring Boot really requires folder structure to be followed, otherwise it won't work. So under instead of controller, I'm going to create a config. So when I do save, it'll throw error, then it'll move to a config folder. It will automatically create a folder, necessary folder, and it will move. And then the next step is that we need to declare this is implements um, implements web config. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go and copy. Um, let's say Spring Boot uh, Thymeleaf, Thymeleaf configure. Um, let's go ahead and copy this and yeah, just copy these two things and paste here. So because this is a configuration, make sure you type configuration and do import. Just close this. I imported the configuration because this is a bean. You have to import the bean. All right, and just do the import whatever you see. That's absolutely fine. Um, we use HTML as a template, so import the template and so yeah, we done almost right. Please make sure in our case we don't have the template in the web. I mean, if you are writing servlet kind of application, core Java, like uh, Java server faces JSP kind of page, web INF is okay. But in our case, because it's a Spring Boot, I use class path. Okay, under the class path, I have a templates. That's a folder. I'm telling the mustache, hey, go and take the templates from the under the class path, the templates folder. You need to find all the HTML files. So then it will go and pick up the the MVC template. All right. So we're done. Um, all done. Let's go and look at the form, see whether we have time leaf. Okay, and in the web config, I think we need to add implements web configurer. Yeah, web MVC configurer. Okay, so we all done. Let's go and refresh now. Let's see it got refreshed. Go on refresh. Okay, so we got the Thymeleaf is working. Okay, Thymeleaf now configured, so there is no error and everything looks okay. It's running right. I mean, just to make sure. Let's go ahead and remove this salutation. Let's see what happened. This is the template. I use a description and name only where the mister comes from. Is it not compiling? So I'm sorry. I mean, because we change a lot, let's go on the mbn clean and rerun once. Okay, that will make things right. This is our controller, right? MVC under home. Let's give it a minute. Okay, now all is fine, right? So likewise, the mustache. I'm trying to add the same salutation. Do refresh and the timely for rendering it really. I don't know why it requires kill and start. That will check because I anyway use a dev tool, right? In the form I use a dev tools, so it should auto compile. Okay, the message is automatically coming. Anyway, let's go back to the thing here, right? So assume in our data we don't have the salutation. Assume, right? So as I told you, the backend doesn't have, but logically I wanted to do. Let's go and apply the logic. Assume the data doesn't have the salutation, okay? But logically, I wanted to apply only in the customer specific template, whatever the logic I wanted to bring in, right? So this salutation is not there, right? So go ahead and type, like, let's say Thymeleaf if condition. I just refer some sites so that it will be easy for you to go and learn, because Thymeleaf is very big, huge. You can apply for loop, if condition, switch, whatever you do with your core programming, you can apply in the template literal itself, so that your customer specific deployment can do many wonders. Okay, so here I'm going, and before the name I'm applying this one. All right, so what I do, if the data dot gender is male, then type like Mr. Okay, similarly I'm not going to put the else. All right, so here, if the date, I mean, you can put a if else switch loop. I told you, right, there are many things you can quick go and learn, whatever your case, like a case. Even in the list you can do something for the first item of the list, the last item of the list, or even numbers of the list, or odd number of list. There are many logic you can build in. Okay, all right, so I applied a female miss. All right, so now we done it. um, you got it, right? So the salutation is not there in my code. However, the Thymeleaf is taking care of. This is not possible in the mustache. That's the key difference we are trying to bring in. Let's see, it's refreshed, and go and refresh. Okay, so the Mr. automatically comes here, correct? Assume I'm going and changing the gender to female. That's what my data is. So since the salutation is not here, let's go and type. It is automatically changing the miss. So as I told you, I'm not changing the logic in my code, whereas only the customer specific, um, the template literals is going to do a lot of customer specific, the conditional renders. So um, I hope you got this. And I also had an example of, like, how you can implement the same with the um, Google App Script also, right? So if you go here, I think I presented in another video also. If you go to the mustache, if you find a mustache for Google App Script, you can copy this particular code, and you can come here. You can go and add libraries. You can search, do lookup, and you can you can find the mustache and add. Once you added a mustache, the mustache will be here, because in my case I already added. Then once you added, you can straight away use them in templates like this. So you see, I added the mustache. Then in your Google Apps Script, you can use mustache.render here, the string template, and you can add the data. Then it will render. So so the key difference, what I'm trying to show you here is, or I'm trying to explain to you all, is that in most of the cases, mustache is more than enough in all your programming language. Any programming language you can use this. This is a logicless, and most of the cases that will fit, and it's easy to learn. It's okay, an hour you can learn. It's like a 3 or 4. You can learn it. Um, Especially when it comes to any framework like a Spring Boot, a Flask, or you know a Django, kind of things. There is some additional configuration that's required in order to use it, but other than that, it will be fantastic. But if you are going very big application like a banking, or big e-commerce site, where you are going to do a lot of customer, or deployment wise customization, please go ahead and use Thymeleaf. In case if you are thinking that you are not a Thymeleaf, I mean Java developer, you are using a Ruby on Rails, or Python like a Django. I mean, most of the frameworks has inbuilt template engine that you can straightly use. You can leave the mustache or a Thymeleaf. You can use the core string template engine, which is available in the framework. But other than the framework, if you are trying to implement like a mass emailing, or any kind of string interpolation, please use mustache. It just one literal can be used in any other programming language. I hope you enjoy this and you find this is very useful. And if you have any question, like how you wanted to implement this one into this, that, whatever, please feel free to look at my channel description. You have my calendar link. You can just block my calendar, and we can talk um, in the Zoom or some kind of conference. Please feel free. It's completely free. You can just join and talk. Um, Thanks for watching. Bye for now.